Hi, and welcome to my video about choosing a wine and wine pairing. I thought in this video I'd go over some key tips with you so that the next time you need to bring a bottle of wine somewhere, or if you just want to enjoy one at home, you actually know what you're looking for, you know what to ask for, and you know how to pair your wine with your food. And just a quick reminder, if you haven't done so already, to subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up if you like a glass of wine. I know I do. I haven't always been into wine, but it did happen for me when I was in university because I worked at a steakhouse. So for you Canadians, I worked at the Keg. And they're really big on making sure that their servers have good quality wine knowledge, not just, yeah, order the most expensive thing on your menu. It's the best, which is what I pretty much would have done if I did not have this training. They actually took the time to explain to us the differences and the variances in grapes and flavors and what to expect and how to pair your food. And I just found that once I knew about wine, the experience of drinking wine was so much more enjoyable. And the more I got into it, the more I tasted wines and paired it with food and had such great experiences. So that's what I want to share with you guys today. And in my circle of friends and family, I am often called upon to go to the liquor store and help people pick out the bottle that will make them the happiest. So I want to help you guys with that as well. Just a quick primer or the basics. Well, a lot of people think I'm just gonna have a red wine if I'm having red meat, and I'm gonna have a white wine if I'm having fish, chicken, or something vegetarian. And it's not always that simple. Instead of just thinking the red or the white situation, I actually want you to think about light with light and heavy with heavy. So if you have a nice light crisp wine, even if it's a red wine, you can pair that with a light dish. And if you have something really heavy, something perhaps like a steak or something really creamy and rich, that's when you want to pair it with a heavy wine, whether it's a red or white. So for example, beef stroganoff, you're gonna pick a nice heavy red. Chicken and asparagus, you're gonna pick a nice light white. So let's say you're going somewhere for dinner and you want to bring a bottle of wine. Great idea. If you're coming to my house, I would love it if you did that. But the question is, how do you know what to bring? So there are a few different things you can do. First of all, you can just call the host and say, hey, what are you making? Can I bring some wine that will work well with the food? However, they also might just have a preference and say, you know what, I really love Massey Valpolicella. Can you get a bottle of that? Amazing, your job is so much easier. So if you can kind of coax out a brand or a grape that you know they like, try to do that. It'll save you a little bit of pain. And if you go to the liquor store, you can always ask for help and you can say, this is the situation I'm in. They might try to pull a couple questions from you, find out what tastes you like and what you don't like, and they can pretty much direct you to a wine that you might enjoy. But when all else fails, guys, go and get yourself a Pinot Noir if you want a red, or a Sauvignon Blanc if you want a white. Those two are pretty much no fail. Let's say you're going to someone's house, but you're not eating dinner there. It's just sort of a hanging out kind of situation. Maybe some Netflix, maybe some cheese, I don't know. There are a couple things you can bring that will be no fail and definitely appreciated. Pinot Noir, again on that list. Cabernet Sauvignon is a great wine just for sipping. And one of my personal favorites is something a little sparkly, so you can bring some cava along with you. As long as it's cold, it'll be ready to drink and people will love you. Okay, so now that you're in the big leagues with wine, let's talk about something a little bit more specific, and that is the region or where the grape actually comes from. This might sound like a fancy wine term, but I promise you guys, it actually has a really big effect on how nice the wine actually is to drink. Certain grapes grow really well in certain regions because of certain conditions that are present. For example, precipitation, sun, heat, the type of soil, how much rock is in that soil, what other minerals are present. It is important to know that certain regions produce incredible wines and other regions which could produce the exact same type of wine, for example, a Chardonnay from Napa and a Chardonnay from Niagara, Ontario, taste completely different. I am not a Chardonnay fan. Chad and I were just in Napa Valley in May. I had a Chardonnay there. I went out of my comfort zone. They said, trust us on this, you're gonna love it. I tried it, it was amazing. I've had them here in Niagara when I've done wine tastings. So Really important to make sure that when you're picking a wine, you're picking it from the region where it does the best. Because there are so many different regions around the world that make wines and are famous for different wines, I can't spend all this time getting into it with you guys now. I'd be here for hours. But you can download an app called hellovino.com, or you can visit a website called winefolly.com. Those are a couple of things that I use as resources, and they'll help me figure out, okay, if I'm looking for a light red, what exactly do I want? And then I can sort of narrow it down once I go on a site or an app like that and make a really good wine decision. I'm sure you've heard the terms full-bodied and dry when people are talking about wines. Let me explain to you what those mean, because they are really important when it comes to picking a wine and telling people what you enjoy. So full-bodied wine, that means it is full of flavor. It's got a lot of body, there's a lot of complexity to it. When you drink it, it's like a real punch in the face. And those are actually the wines that I love. Dry wines mean that they have a lower sugar content. So in a full-bodied wine, you have a higher sugar content, which is why you're getting a lot of flavors, and oftentimes you can really sense some of the sweetness in a wine. In a dry wine, you don't get that sweetness. So you can always tell by looking at the label to see what the sugar content is for the wine. So in my books, I like a really full-bodied red. I like drier whites, but not Chardonnay. I just want you to know that it's 12:59 p.m. right now, and I actually have no intention of drinking this, but I really want to. So my final tip, this is like super pro, is what I call humoring a glass of wine. Actually, it's not what I call it, it's what the pros call it. So if you want to be really uppity, you pour yourself a glass of wine, or let someone else pour it for you, or obviously pour for other people first because you're not that person. And then you want to swirl your wine. This is called humoring your wine. Now, the reason I like this big glass is because after a glass or two, you tend to not spill it when you're humoring it. And what this does is it starts to expose the wine to oxygen. And that really opens up the flavor so you can start to really get all of those minor notes and subtleties. And then once I've humored it, and you can see that this is sort of a lighter bodied wine because it doesn't have those thick kind of legs that run down the side of the glass, I'll then sort of tip it toward my nose and just kind of smell it big time, like almost drink it with your nose like this. And you can really get a sense for what's going on in the wine. So you can start to pick up the different flavors and scents and subtleties, and it's all just part of the enjoyment experience. And then once I've done that and I've sort of mulled over what I'm about to drink, I'll then take a nice little sip, which I'm not gonna do right now. And I just let the wine sit in my mouth for a minute, swirl it around, and then swallow it, and then usually continue on with my conversation. There are so many different terms to describe wine. I seriously cannot get into it right now, and also holding these bottles make me not want to work, so I gotta put them down. But the more you get into wine and the more you taste it, the more you'll start to understand what all of these different meanings and words and regions and all that kind of stuff means. And who knows, you might be that guy sitting there sipping some wine going, I taste coffee, I taste grass, I taste blackberry and garden hose. You might be that person. Trust me, once you go down the wine chute, it's really hard to come back out for many reasons. I've got so much more information about wine and wine picking available on my website at melissamaker.com, and I've got a link for that down below. Wine is a lot like art. It's very subjective. So if you like it, that's all that matters at the end of the day. So my favorite wine is a Primitivo. And you know, not everyone likes it. It's really full-bodied and strong. But for me, this is like heaven. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and share it with someone who needs help picking wines too. If you haven't done so already, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel to get more videos just like this, and you can check out a couple of my other videos right over here. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.